fellow citizens to a series of programs, infomercials, and conversations that we, the people of Hope, would be having with the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, presenting what we think would be the ideal vision for a better tomorrow for all of us. My name is Steve Alvarez. I'm the chairman of Hope. And over the next few weeks, you will be having conversations with our political leader, Timothy Hamel-Smith, one of the leading lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago, with our other deputy political leaders and our secretary and most of the officials of Hope. But more so, we are hoping as we go along that some point we're going to have a conversation with you and we can address the questions that you ask, and we can perhaps have you share your views on what's the best package for Trinidad and Tobago. So I urge you right now to tune in every week to Hope's vision for Trinidad and Tobago and look at us as we share our conversations with you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
My name is Annalisa Ramsaran, and it is a pleasure for me to be your host for this podcast series. During this series, we will discuss the current political landscape and, more importantly, Hope's Path to Victory 2025. In studio with me today, I have the political leader of Hope, Mr. Timothy Hamel-Smith. Mr. Hamel-Smith is a former Senate president and a globally acclaimed legal luminary. Now join me in welcoming Mr. Hamel-Smith. Mr. Hamel-Smith, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Annalisa. It's great to be here with you in studio.
Nice, and thank you so much for being here with us in studio today. The first question I would have to ask you is, why Hope and why politics?
I have been in charitable work for many years in the past. I think the defining moment when I decided, look, politics is the approach that you have to make was when I went on a course on Fratelli Tutti, a book by Pope Francis, in which you recognize, he said, politics is a noble profession. We think like the opposite in Trinidad. But understand, he said that because for those politicians who look out for the common good, and who cause systemic difficulties that don't allow people to achieve their potential, politics is absolutely pivotal to make the difference in people's lives. And when I experienced that, I said, all right, I need to come full-time into politics. And here I am.
At your highly acclaimed media conference, you outlined Hope's groundbreaking recommendations for constitutional reform. Now, the other question I would have to ask Mr. Hamel-Smith is, how Hope will make the difference in the next government of Trinidad and Tobago? Can you elaborate for our viewers today, Hope's winning strategy?
Yes, and people recognize we're a third party, and therefore you start at a disadvantage, if you like, because we haven't been here for, 20, 30, 40 years. We understand that. But if you look at the dynamics of the politics, you will notice that the two major parties are neck and neck. Maybe 2 seats divide them, possibly 3. What Hope has decided on is to identify 5 seats that are winnable by Hope. When we feel winning 5 seats, we will hold the balance of power. And therefore, either party wanting to form a government will have to come to Hope. And we will have that opportunity to serve the people through the next government in a coalition arrangement with one or other of the parties.
So, Mr. Hamel-Smith, having heard you speak about the 5 core constituencies, I must ask then, which core constituencies is it that Hope intend to target for its path to victory?
Right. So we can't disclose all our tactics in terms of, and politics is dynamic. But what we have done is we've appointed a committee of political analysts to look deeply into this question as to which are the most winnable. We have a fair idea of what those will be, but we're not quite ready to give that out into the public domain.
Let's track back a bit to your answer about Hope's winning strategy. You mentioned the possibility for a post-election coalition, essentially. Now, the question I would like to ask is, Can you disclose to us which party do you see being a potential for a post-election coalition? And then what do you expect out of that partnership?
Certainly, you have to recognize that coalitions are not necessarily something that people understand or appreciate. And in fact, some of the coalitions that we've had in the past have not worked as well as they could have. And therefore, Hope is specifically talking about a post-election coalition, and to recognize this is not pre-election. And what we say by that gives us the opportunity to say, Hope has developed a 180-day plan of the key elements that we need to introduce to make transformative measures in Trinidad and Tobago.
You mentioned this 180-day policy. To our viewers watching in, they might not have any idea of this policy and what it even is. So can you explain to us maybe some core elements of this policy?
Well, two I would like to bring to the attention of people. One, because it first deals with corruption. And in fact, many people understand that no country could succeed if corruption pervades the entire society. And that's exactly where Trinidad is at the moment. So we have recommended, and as part of our constitutional proposal, that you introduce a serious fraud office under the DPP, but where a special prosecutor, independent prosecutor, is appointed to work together with forensic analysts. So that what happens, and these serious fraud office is something not new around the world.
Right.
In all the countries where successful prosecutions have occurred, what you have is a prosecutor working in close collaboration with a forensic investigator. And that's what you need. That's why you need them particular office so that they can in fact work with each other and ensure that the case is solid and will win at the end of the day. And that serious fraud office, of course, has to be resourced. And we feel it will make a tremendous difference if, in fact, we get 2 or 3, to begin with. Then I think the whole dynamics of life in Trinidad and Tobago will start to change. The thing that we think is vital, and this has now to do with the economy, is we have said you must introduce fiscal responsibility legislation. That ensures, one, that we set targets. Trinidad and Tobago, we drift along wherever the wind takes us. That's how it operates right now. When you have fiscal responsibility legislation, you look at targets and you map out how we will achieve these, and you want to ensure that, in fact, you continue to operate within certain parameters. And therefore, what you have is a fiscal council overseeing, an independent fiscal council. It doesn't override the executive or the government, but they comment, and their reports have to be laid in Parliament. So this becomes public knowledge and has to be debated. We feel around the world, the United States just passed Fiscal Responsibility Act, not before, but they brought in a new one just within the last week. Just to tell you, it is successful nations throughout Europe that have introduced fiscal responsibility legislation. And we think it is a vital component for transforming the economic position of Trinidad and Tobago. Important area, Annalisa, relates to the Constitution and the electoral system that we have. That causes tremendous amounts of difficulty in Trinidad and Tobago. It divides the population instead of bringing them unified and getting a critical mass of people behind a single vision. What we propose, and we can do this with a simple majority, so any government coming in can pass this legislation. We say that, yes, proportional representation would be ideal, but that would require a 3/4 majority. On the other hand, you can bring in preferential voting systems, which ensures that no single candidate can win his seat without more than 50% of the vote. And it allows for a one-time counting to ensure that every vote counts. So nobody stays home and says, I'm wasting my time going out to vote. People will be able to come out to vote knowing that their vote counts and will go towards whatever the ultimate decision is. And that is a transformative issue because I think the electoral system has us stuck where we are and we need to move ahead.
Viewers, thank you all for joining us on this first episode of Hope's Path to Victory 2025. Mr. Hamel-Smith has definitely left us with a lot of food for thought, and I encourage you all to join us every week, same day, same time, where we would be posting episodes having conversations about policies that are very influential and that will be very helpful for a better future for Trinidad and Tobago. Viewers, let me encourage you all to visit our website where you can learn more about Hope's plans for our future and also follow all our social media pages. Again, I would like to thank you all for tuning in on this week's episode of Hope's Path to Victory, and join us next week, same time, same place. Viewers,